Dear Dad, it's been 15 years since you left us. A lot has changed, but I think I'd be making you proud. A degree from SC State and USC Law. You would love my wife, Jill, and I represent our community in the State House. But now I'm doing something bigger, running for Senate to continue fighting for our community, creating opportunities and protecting the rights of those who need a voice. Because Dad, that's the world you taught me to believe in.
It's time for a little comedy, a little content, and a lot of conversation. It's the Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube. Now here's your host, Geno Jones.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? It is showtime, Geno Jones Showtime. I come to you live Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 in Chicago, 3:30 p.m. out on the West Coast. Tell everybody I got a new goal, subscription goal. A goal 1,000 new subscribers in the next 60 days. So please spread the word. You can share this episode, this and every episode. Copy and paste the link. Copy, paste it, tag it, share it, text it, send it by carrier pigeon, put a message in a bottle, and send it off and tell them to subscribe. That's how you spell Geno. Just go to YouTube and type in the little search, little magnifying glass, Geno with either, Geno Jones Show. Subscribe, share, like, of course, and binge watch all my back episodes. The Geno Jones Show, brought to you by CM Transportation. If your business needs a transportation company that is dependable, reliable, and on time, not CP time, CM Transportation, just check them out online at www.cm, like Mary, CM Transportation, LLC.net, CM Transportation, LLC.net. Or you can give them a call. Headquarters here in the Charleston, South Carolina metro, but they do business nationwide. Shout out to the CEO, Carissa Carter, 843 area code 606-2702, 843 area code 606-2702. You got that. All right, coming up shortly, our legal expert, Mr. Sean Mitchell, based in Chicago. It's a lot going on with these Supreme Court justices and talking about that. It needs to be, it's a Christian nation. Hold on, wait a minute. Is that in the Constitution? That America's a Christian nation? And what about the folks that are Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, agnostic, atheist? Well, I'm going to let Sean talk about that. He's a legal expert. But yeah, we get one Supreme Court justice and his wife. They just like, we don't give a damn. We want this remixed, racist version of Christianity, white Christian nationalism. I digress. All right. Let me start off. I want to wish my Geminis celebrating a birthday today. Happy birthday, June 11th. R&B star, a young lady from England, Georgia. She's from England, but her name is Georgia Smith, even though she spells it Jorja. She is 27 today, new R&B artist. She's been doing has a couple hits last couple of years, and a legend. There's been a lot of talk about the WNBA and women's basketball. See, like if y'all were really down with the WNBA, you would know who the sister is. She walked away from the WNBA a four-time WNBA champion, a league MVP, a finals in a women's, I should say a WNBA or women's national basketball finals MVP, all-star MVP, two-time college basketball champion at UConn, University of Connecticut Huskies, two-time gold medalist, USA women's basketball in 2012 and 2016. Maya Moore, who literally walked away at the top of her game, 35 today. And if you don't know, so all y'all like Jane and Becky come lately fans to the WNBA, and you love your girl Caitlin Clark, who's going to be, I think she's going to be a great player. eventually, but she's a rookie, and rookies have to kind of learn. Like Diana Taurasi said, she ain't playing against 18-year-olds that are starstruck. She is playing against grown-ass women who are taller, faster, and stronger, and can jump higher than she can. And you got a few that can shoot like she can. So I digress. Maya Moore, 35 today, so happy birthday to the one, the only, the iconic, legendary Maya Moore, formerly of the Minnesota Lynx. She won four WNBA championships. All right, so just for y'all, this, because now all of a sudden, all y'all are like WNBA, and really a lot of y'all ain't really WNBA fans. You're Caitlin Clark fans. Nothing wrong with that. All right, she's bringing some new fans. I call it like the Taylor Swift crowd. She's bringing to the WNBA, but they have been growing. That league has been growing every year. And you got to put some respect on players like Maya Moore, who even got the WNBA to this level. But my monologue, I took a deep dive last night, so make sure you go back and binge watch and share and tag and text last night's episode, because, man, I took a deep dive. I mean, I was like Aquaman, diving all the way to Atlantis on that one. So you don't want to miss that monologue. It was a great show yesterday. Yesterday we were talking about Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Marty Moore and Will Smith, their movie Bad Boys, Bad Boys, Bad Boys, Ride or Die, number one in America, number one on the planet, 56 last weekend, number one at the box office, $56 million. Worldwide, $104 million. Opening weekend at the box office. That's how much Bad Boys Ride or Die made. Now, supposedly, there was a lot of talk this is probably going to be the last Bad Boys movie that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence will do together. Oh, contraire mon faire. According to Marty Marr and Will, they said, hold on now. We might have one more Bad Boys movie in us. As a matter of fact, Martin Lawrence said, my back ain't went out yet. The back hadn't went out yet. So the back hadn't went out quite yet. So before we do it, we ain't just gonna pass it off just yet. I plan to see it this weekend. But from everybody I heard from, that is an excellent movie. President last night, speaking of yesterday, Monday, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris celebrated Juneteenth, the whole Juneteenth week coming up, with a big concert on the South Lawn of the White House, starring Uncle Charlie Wilson, Kirk Franklin. So you know they got their praise and worship on. Patti LaBelle and Gladys Knight. And even Kirk Franklin brought Vice President Harris up on stage. President Biden gave a big speech, 147 days until you choose. Now, it's going to be early voting in a lot of states, but Election Day, November 5th, 147 days, a choice between your freedom and your oppression. Please understand that. And one thing that I think a lot of people don't really take for granted, and I'm about to bring my guest on, what you all have to understand, you got all these judges that's made rulings. You've had these judges that made a ruling that the Fearless Fund, which is a black woman-owned venture capital group, and a venture capital group, basically, they're just people who, they're almost like they're not a bank, but they are investors. They invest in companies. Venture capitalists, they just people that have money that look for small businesses or nonprofits to invest in. Now, out of all the venture capitalists, 9/10% of all the venture capitalists, and all the venture capital money goes to white people, primarily white men. Black women get like a 0.006 or some crazy number, like less than 1/10 of 1% of all the money that the venture capitalists receive. But you've had this guy, Edward Bloom, and Sean could tell you about that. Anyway, so he's basically a white nationalist who's a billionaire, and he's got lawyers, and they've gone to court to see if they could stop so somehow the Fearless Fund, which is a black woman-owned venture capital group that targets black women and their businesses who are not getting any venture capital money. So somebody needs to sue some of these white organizations, because how is it that African Americans make up at least 14% of the population, but black people and black people get like less than 1%, and black women get even less than that, like 0.000. So this guy has filed a suit. So the Fearless Fund, these black women who have venture capital groups that usually make donations or investments in the amount of $20,000. It's not like they're giving out $20 million, which would be great. But somehow the Fearless Fund is discriminating against white men. When white men are getting 99% of the venture, and white people are getting 99% of the venture capital money. So anyway, there's a lot of legal stuff. So I'm saying all that, and I'm setting that up before I bring Sean on, because if you live in a state like we do here in South Carolina, or 16 states where you have virtually an abortion ban, 6-week abortion ban. Most women don't even know if they missed a period in 6 weeks, let alone know if they're pregnant. And you have these states, abortion bans. They want to criminalize the doctors. They'll put the women in jail, the doctors in jail. You have these states that are banning books. You have states like in Pennsylvania that want to take public money that the state and the county and the federal government uses for public education, and take that money, some of that money, and give it to people to use as vouchers to give to private schools that can discriminate. So judges, you guys got to understand, judges affect every decision in your life. And if you ever been in trouble or know anybody in your family that's been in trouble, you know judges have a huge influence. So it is so important. One of the reasons that we got a lot of our freedoms was we fought them in the courts. We had people like Justice Thurgood Marshall and so many more. So somebody that's much better to have that conversation is a brother who is a legal expert, a brilliant legal mind there. Family, I bring on to you one repping his NIU, undergrad NIU, the Huskies, Northern Illinois University, Mr. Sean Mitchell. Hey, family.
Yep.
How we doing?
Hey, how you doing? That's my law school, even though NIU is
yes, that's right. Shout out to NIU Law School.
Yeah, one of the most affordable law schools, one of the most best law schools for Black students. So just a little note in there that I want to drop in there for you.
That's proof that it's not about the law school that you attend, is what you do with the law school education that you receive. Bam!
Yeah. And like most things with education, you look for value as well as quality. It's a quality school. The school is known for, we're talking about judges. In the state of Illinois, the majority of the judges that are appointed in state or serving in state come from Northern Illinois. And most of the students that graduate from Northern Illinois usually go into public service or public law,
really?
Meaning a lot of your public defenders, state prosecutors are all from NIU. There's several of them serve on the Illinois bar board for the bar, and in different areas, and also in different federal and state agencies. The Department of Welfare, Department of Public and Human Services here in Illinois. Also, obviously, DCFS, and so people, should recognize, since we're talking about judges that make a lot of decisions, most of your judges, they come from the pool of lawyers that are doing multiple things. And usually when judges are appointed, in each state kind of has their own rules, but your lower judges are usually mostly elected. They may get appointed to finish out another judge's term, because in state government, most judges have to get reelected ever so regularly, and they don't really associate with political parties, although political parties kind of support their nomination. the rules vary, but in general, your judges closest to you, your district judge, the judge, and those are people that are dealing with traffic tickets, when you go to court for child support, all local, state level things. Those judges usually go through a process where they may have been an appointment, but ever so regular, they have to run. So there is a check on them. And what a lot of people do during elections is they don't really investigate the judges.
Yes.
Some people just skip that part because they say, I don't know, but I'm going to give you some quick stuff to help you out. The State Bar Association and your local county bar association, this information is public access. You can go to their websites. There's several sites, red state, blue state, I think it is. They assess judges, and I think Ballotpedia, there it is. Ballotpedia is a nonprofit organization that everybody that's on the ballot, from judges to dog catcher, they do an assessment. Sometimes in areas it's just like a one-line thing, but the point is everybody that runs for judges in particular, they have a public record, they've been bar approved, and they can still run if they're not bar approved. And what a lot of people don't understand, you don't necessarily have to be a lawyer to become a magistrate judge. That's somebody who basically is there to deal with arraignment and sometimes issue warrants. There's nothing in the law that says a person that is duly appointed to a particular magistrate office that can't issue a warrant. So what does that mean? Issuing a warrant without the grand jury means that you've been suspected or there's probable cause that you've committed a crime, and that warrant, that's when we get into, was the warrant proper? Does it have all the information necessary to go arrest this person in their home? Because police just can't enter your home and arrest you without a warrant or having witnessed you do a crime. So these are based off our Constitution and amendments to the Constitution. It even applies to the state government. But to make a long story short, this is the importance of how important it is that you engage when it comes to deciding who is going to be the judge for your particular jurisdiction, especially locally. We always think federal government, but like I've said before on this show, government that's closest to you has the most power over you. The further the government gets away from you, the less power it actually has over you. And so it's important that you engage in every election. The big elections like we have coming up, in your state and local elections, which happen in off years. And then there's even that third, your mayor and your trustee and your PTA. All of these things affect you and you need to engage. So
school board, no, that's really important.
School board, that's where we're talking local stuff. Your local sheriff's office, we're talking local stuff. And like I said, those judges, they're usually on the ballot during those years for your local elections when they're judges closest to your state district that you live in, that deals with the things like I said, speeding tickets, minor criminal state charges. You know, remember, the federal courts only have so much power over you, and it's very limited. You have to violate a federal law. You have to bring a case that invokes federal law, or a diversity case, which means a plaintiff from one state and a defendant from another state. But the court has to have jurisdiction over you, whether it's subject jurisdiction, personal jurisdiction. They have to have jurisdiction over your property. That means the property needs to be in the state. You know, in other words, they can't adjudicate about a property ownership in another state that jurisdiction does not have. There's a few places where they can do it, but it's really, really nuanced where they can. But for the most part, yeah. And so if you commit a crime in Illinois or South Carolina, you have to be charged and convicted in South Carolina unless that crime crosses over into an adjacent state. Or when you get into, you know, I'm just using this person, R. Kelly, where he's committed the same crimes in different states, or the crime started here because he transported somebody from Chicago to Florida, or had somebody in New York fly to Florida to meet
across
him.
interstate lines,
the state lines and everything. Again, some of this stuff, I know when we're all in school back in the day, and you take constitution and state constitution, it's just all information. But the truth of the matter is a lot of what we do in the law is basically built off that fundamental idea of the United States Constitution and then state constitutions. And the United States Constitution is empowered by the states. Remember, each state has sovereignty. And so, that's why
what does that mean, sovereignty?
That means they have the power over their jurisdiction to write their own laws. The federal government does not have police power. In other words, the federal government right now, the usual example everybody knows, some states have recreational marijuana, other states don't. The federal government has a prohibition on marijuana, but the federal government would have to come into the state and enforce that. So what does that mean? They have to have the police power. They can't tell Illinois state troopers to go after people with marijuana because it's their law that they're trying to enforce. And that's how that works. That's why with the abortion thing, each state kind of is cobbling their own thing, because that's the federal government, until they pass a federal law saying abortion is 16 weeks, blah, blah, blah. States, it's left to the states, because Roe v. Wade has been struck down. The federal umbrella that was keeping the federal government engaged, but there was never a law saying that abortion is legal. It's just in the jurisdictions that allow it. And so that's what I said. That's why it gets back to the voting. That's why it gets back to just the simplest things affect you on a macro level. You were just talking about the Fearless Fund. Well, here's a little tidbit for you. In the Fearless Fund, these cases, like the case in Harvard, are being brought by Bloom, a multi-millionaire,
billionaire, actually.
Billionaire, you're right. Billionaire, venture capitalist. He invests in all these different right-wing groups and right-wing politicians. He found somewhere, and as you try to find the information, okay, who's bringing this case? Well, it's 3 anonymous white women and Asians. That's what it now says. But they didn't have anything. And so the question becomes, in order to bring a case, you have to have standing.
And what does that mean, standing?
Standing means that the case will affect you. I can't bring a case on your behalf unless it's a class action case that affects a whole lot of people. I can't bring a case for Geno saying that the state is violating against his rights unless he asserts that his rights are being violated. And so it's kind of interesting that this happened in the 11th District Court of Appeals. So
where's that at? Where's that at,
That's
Sean?
Atlanta. That's okay. Atlanta. So some of these cases are strategically bought in particular districts. All the federal court system, it's 12 districts. They're all divided according to region. I live in Illinois, which is more Midwest, upper Midwest. So we're in the 7th federal district. So that means when stuff goes to federal court in Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Wisconsin, it's sliced up in these districts. Our state of Illinois has 3 federal districts. I think Michigan has 3. I think Wisconsin has 2. I think Indiana has 2. And so again, that is why it's important. This is where it starts stretching out beyond you. So why is it important to make sure that Donald Trump doesn't win again? Because he gets to appoint judges that have to be confirmed at the Senate level to these different, not just the Supreme Court, but federal judges all over the country. The good thing is that the Biden administration, and probably has a lot to do with his vice president being a former attorney general and having real good legal minds within that administration, are now trying to undo some of the damage that Trump did by quickly appointing judges. Because these appointments, again, judges, federal judges, are lifetime appointments. Some people hit 70, 75 and say, hey, I want to retire. And sometimes they're political persuasions. If you're strategic, then you say, hey, I'm a progressive judge on this federal district. I'm 75 years old. maybe I should retire now just to make sure if Biden's in office, he can appoint someone to take over my seat. The Democrats in the past, this is no disrespect to Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I think she was a great jurist, but maybe if she resigns when Obama has the Senate and the ability to confirm, you hold on to that seat. Me personally, I don't think that judges should have lifetime appointments. And the reason why is there's no accountability, which draws me into what we're talking about now. One of my favorite journalists that's also my frat brother is Roland Martin. And outside of watching your show, Geno, for political and entertainment stuff, there's a few other, popular national shows that I check out from time to time. But I thought this, every year we go through this with Clarence Thomas and now Judge Alito of not submitting their financial disclosures, or late. And one thing I like to, I don't promote mainstream media when I'm on shows talking about it. And ProPublica is a nonprofit. I think they do awesome work. There's no bend to it. It doesn't matter who's in power. They give you the news straight up, and they have reporters all over the country. And so that's one of the news sources that I go to, because they do investigative work into government. And so they've been, ever since ProPublica has been around, and I say it's been around about 15, 20 years now, they've been dogged on holding the Supreme Court accountable for their financial disclosures. So with a man like Thomas, who writes these lengthy opinions about the law, you can't remember to disclose trips that you took with $1 billion hedge fund supporter to exotic places like Indonesia. You don't remember that? Or these trips.
His mama house. What was it? His nephew, one of not I don't know if it was a grandkid, some child in the family to school.
Right. Or somebody more supporting the loan for you to buy a 200,000 mobile home. And when I saw that with him on the news just talking about it, I go like, okay, first of all, if you're the reporter, why aren't you asking, how does a Supreme Court justice, because remember, Supreme Court justices only make $175,000 a year.
Really? That's it? Wow.
If I remember correctly,
now, for the average person, that's a lot of money.
But but it's not enough money to buy a $200,000 mobile home without taking out a 20-year payment schedule for it. I mean, even if you have $175,000 and you have a nice house and you have a nice car and your living expenses, that still isn't a lot of money, especially in today's economy.
If you make $175,000, you ain't taking home $175,000.
Right.
Matter of fact, you in the highest tax bracket, so you probably taking home about 60. You own a house and you can write stuff off. You maybe taking 70% of that, but you still.
So let me correct myself. It's the House and Senate members and delegates only make $174,000. The Chief Justice makes $298,000, and the Supreme Court Justice makes $265,000. But still, $265,000, and they all live in D.C., Virginia.
Wait, who makes $295,000?
The 298,005. He's the Chief Justice.
John Roberts.
John Roberts,
and the rest of them here $265,000 a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And now they have pensions, I'm sure, and all those different things. And they're allowed, here's the thing. They have to disclose everything. So here's a nugget. And this is not necessarily to criticize, but this is what I would say. And I've had this discussion. I like Ketanji Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, but I probably wouldn't take $4,000 tickets from Beyonce. I probably, and the only reason why I say that is that we're criticizing Thomas. Now, here's the caveat to that. what is the chance that Beyonce is going to have an issue that comes up before Ketanji Jackson
in the Supreme Court?
In the Supreme Court? Probably not. But with Thomas and this billionaire, his interest comes up in the Supreme Court all the time.
Yes.
Here's the other dynamic. I don't care who you are. If you want to make money telling your story, then it's a free market. So I'm not so critical of, she got the highest book deal for a Supreme Court justice, like $890,000 upfront advancement. Because obviously, the first Black woman on the Supreme Court, if I'm a publisher, I'm going to give her $1 million. Why? She's going to sell out the roof.
Yes.
So obviously, I understand that. And I'm never against people making their own money. But when you sit on a court, see, locally, here's the awesome thing about state government. The ethics on a judge locally, even though judges still try to get around it, is extreme.
Really?
They can't, in the state of Illinois, if you work for the state government, you can't take a lunch from somebody over X amount of dollars. I think it's like $15, $20.
Wow.
When you get trips to conventions and a commercial outlet pays for it and they do business with the state, you have to get approval of that before. Every one of the state employees, because I work for Chicago State University and I've worked for NIU University here in Illinois. Every year I have to take an ethics test, an ethics class that tells me everything I can do and I can't do. All right? I'm not a Supreme Court justice. They don't have the ethics on the Supreme Court justice that I have as an adjunct professor for a university here in the state of Illinois.
Wow.
So that should tell you something. We see so much as we go on with our system, which is why I believe the Constitution is this living, breathing document that continues to grow, because we could see the founders never, first of all, they didn't think about us. They didn't care. They didn't think of us as men, but we've moved beyond that. So founders, in your face. But they never dreamed that a felon would still have the ability, because of public shame and scandal, to run for president. So there's no law against it. So what's going to have to happen in the future? Congress, and when I say Congress, the Senate and the House are going to have to craft a law to deal with this, or get rid of the felony penalty for everybody. In other words, if he can run for president, it shouldn't be on job applications. People that can't get barber's license, CDLs, can't do all these things.
Apartments,
home, can't go to college with a student loan, depending on the type of crime. Can't go to a lot of countries. Like, there's 57, 60 countries that he can't go to.
Wow.
What happened? How does that work? So here's my point, back to the Supreme Court. Not only is Thomas doing things, and we're not, his wife is a different subject.
Wife, thank you.
But I will say this, and this is the lawyer in me, and it's okay if you send me hate email. I'm one of those people that don't believe, even though I know who you sleep with has a lot of influence over you, I don't believe that her ability to make money should be restricted. So let me say that. Maybe it should be a disclosure. Maybe he needs to use he needs to observe the recusal rules, and he doesn't. In other words, my wife is entangled with this group, I should recuse myself.
Right. I was going to say, Sean, let me jump in, because I think the problem, I know for me and many other people, I'm sure, and you know, the people that had with Clarence Thomas's wife, Jenny, was that she was actively financing these organizations and a lot of these white nationalist groups, right-wing white militias. She was directly financing that whole January 6th
but let me
attempted coup, but all that.
Let me say this. She has every right to do that. Okay. Where he is, he should recuse. See, here's the thing. You can be an asshole, a bastard, a racist. We can't outlaw that. She has every right to do that. Where he doesn't have the right is he can't be impartial. on any issue dealing with that. And so, just like Justice Alito, there's a tape from this weekend at a convention or something where a young lady asked him about the flag issue with the wife, getting into it before the election last year and after the election, hanging the United States flag upside down. They get into an issue. He's claimed he didn't have anything to do with it and that his wife, it was her. Well, she's on tape saying that he has way more influence on her. That's why she's not putting it upside down, because it's Gay Pride Month and she's sick of the gay pride flags. Okay, so we already see, and so that's my point. He should recuse. I don't want to control Supreme Court justices' spouses. That's not right. That's not American. That you should have a right to make your money legally, how you make your money or how you do business and who you choose to associate. Now, me, I have a right to judge you on that, but it's not tied to the Supreme Court justice having control over how his wife makes his money. He just does not need to be sitting in judgment on a case that his wife, at the end result, depending on how he judged, can receive some benefit or some consequence from. And so that's where we cross the line. Again, Alito's in a similar situation as Thomas. He went on a fishing trip. He's asked for a 90-day extension to file his documents because he magically left this off. Now, mind you, Supreme Court justices and most judges are very highly intelligent people. They write numerous briefings. I read them. They don't leave shit out. But you left out the fact that your billion-dollar friend took you on a trip where there's pictures of you holding up the biggest fish you ever got. But you forgot that. Or you forgot that, oh, my boy gave me the loan and I had to pay him back to get this thing, this big RV that I'm bragging about the mileage and I'm blowing down the street, and look at me and my family, we take road trips. But you forgot how you paid for it. That don't add up. The other dynamic is, let me add this, and this is just my thinking. I don't have any back channels to the Biden administration, but I'm going to say this. If I'm President Biden, I call and I get my Vice President, Kamala Harris, and I call Justice Roberts over to the White House the day after the next election. I say, look, if you're not going to get your guys under control with the ethics stuff, I'm going to add 3 more Supreme Court justices. I'm going to dilute your power. Your court is out of control. I can't control what you do and how you side in these cases. But what I can do is, because the ethics is terrible, add some more justices to neutralize the bad ethics. And when they're done on the court, then we won't add anymore.
Now that's
we'll just
important,
let them
Sean.
go.
So, and I know you got you had a lot you wanted to try to get in, so I'm not going to take too much of your time because I know you got to run. So, what does that look like? Is that to expand the court? Is that an act of Congress? The president
The president can do that.
Goes to the Senate and the House.
He doesn't have to do that.
Order? Exactly. What does that look like?
He can do it. Roosevelt did it. There's nothing in the Constitution that says how many justices it could be. There's been all types of scholarly discussions about what does the new Supreme Court look like going into the future. And there's been some talk of a rotational thing where they move between the circuits and maybe put a cap on their lifetime appointment. Maybe you can only do 25 years or whatever. But there's ways, because the Constitution, Article 3 of the Constitution that grants the courts the power is very narrow. It doesn't, see, the courts didn't even know they had the power to do some of their things until Marbury. Now, I know some of my wonky people that are into politics and watch the Rachel Maddow's of the world, they've heard this before about Marbury versus Madison. That was when the court finally says the court does have the power to do this. Because Marbury and Madison, and I hope I got this right, remembering this correctly. It's basically a situation where Thomas Jefferson was president, and before he left office, he made some appointments, and the new President Madison came in and tried to get rid of those appointments. And the Marbury court said, no, you can't do that. You know, these were previously appointment, and there's a back and forth, but it's the first case that really establishes the power of the court.
So let me stop you right there. So for the brothers in the barbershop and the sisters in the hair salon, President Biden does not have to go through Congress. Are you saying he could an executive order? He could expand the
basically
court
he could,
or is it something else specific that he would have to do?
He could. Let me put it this way. He could, by executive order, expand the court from 9 to 14 or 11.
Let's just throw this in there for us, Sean. What a lot of people may not know, there wasn't always 9 justices. There were more before, wasn't it? It got up to,
it was 13. I think it was 13.
Okay,
it's gotten up as high as 13.
So it wasn't always 9.
No. And I think it's been as low as 5.
Okay.
Before. The issue is the Constitution does not stipulate how many members, how many justices it's supposed to be. It doesn't. And so, in theory, he could make appointments, and here's the key: the Senate is going to have to confirm them.
Oh, there we go. That's the catch. I knew there was a second piece of that.
You can't. He can't just appointment. And so we've had times, and the Bork is the one that I always remember because I was in like high school when this happened. Bork, I think it was Bush, one appointed Bork. Bork was like this attorney that was involved in Watergate to some extent. He was like, and so they had no palate to pass him, and he does not make it. So guess who he appoints next? When he couldn't get Bork in, guess who he appointed next? Clarence Thomas. Right. Now, remember the dust up with Clarence Thomas.
And that was H.W., right?
That's H.W., the first father, the first Bush. The Bush I didn't particularly care for because I know the history of how he's involved in government on so many levels. Yeah, when it was OSI if I'm saying it right, OSI, it was something else before it was CIA. It wasn't always CIA. That's a modern term. That's why you have, when you ask for a FOIA on the defense budget, you have these massive black box redacted areas of the budget that they can't tell you where the money goes to because that's money's going to the CIA.
Right. And FOIA, for everybody watching, it's the Freedom of Information Act. Yeah. Is that a federal law or what? Explain that. Break it down.
There is a federal FOIA statute, but individual states have a FOIA statute. Okay. Here in Illinois, I'm FOIA certified. So what does FOIA mean? Say I got a case against for police brutality against a police department. I can FOIA documents out of that police. I can submit it to that police department, and by law they have so much time to give me that information back. If they don't, I can take them to court, and then the court can enforce it. They can do all kinds of things to make sure. Now, what FOIA means is it doesn't mean that I get anything I want. They can redact stuff. They don't have to give up a person's personal information. Okay. They don't have to give up. It's so many little nuances. But here's the thing. If you are really concerned about your government, you really want to know, then you just follow the FOIA rules. Most states on their websites, they give a clear definition of what you have to do. Like at police departments, there should be someone who's the FOIA officer. At most state institutions, there is a person who is in charge of FOIA. And so it's basically the Freedom of Information Act, and then the federal government also has.
Who utilizes that? Basically, just reporters Who primarily uses?
Anybody.
Oh,
You could
anybody
be,
could. Okay.
it could be a situation where you're a parent and you don't understand the school's not giving you an accurate accountability of where the money is going to and all of this. You can FOIA that information
Oh, okay.
from the school district. I mean, like I said, all these entities that exist. Now, you can't FOIA your church, but I'm sure now here's the thing though, private entities, depending on what type of entity it is, has rules about shareholders, members, if you're an LLC, that require them for members and employees and various rules and bylaws. Like if you sit on a board, if you're a Mason or an Elkin, you sit on one of these boards, there's bylaws and rules. They apply just like they do in a corporation or any other organization. Most of our system is not that difficult. We make it complicated. Lawyers make it complicated because that's how we get paid, to make the complicated for everybody. So yeah, that's like all a part. And this stuff is like should be fundamental stuff. Like I think over the years, and part of it is because racism in the country, when Brown versus Board of Education and school desegregation, a lot of these racist communities totally torpedoed the educational system. And so some of this stuff was like a part of civics class. Now, a lot of students don't learn civics. I even saw somebody with this weird meme saying, get rid of Algebra 2 and we need to be teaching our kids money and stuff like that. Well, why we got to get rid of Algebra 2 to do that? I mean, why do we continue to dummy ourselves down when around the world, like China, they're not doing that. Germany, they're not doing that. These kids are learning far more advanced math than some of our college students are. But here in America, we want to dummy things down, and it just doesn't really make sense. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that shouldn't be taught, but there's space to teach those things. You don't have to get rid of Algebra 2 to teach about civics and money responsibility. Right. Yeah. So what's different now? In fact, now it should be easier to teach it because of the technology. Yeah. I use so much technology compared to when I first went to college in the 90s. Now teaching students, because the technology, sometimes my students will come to me, Professor Mitchell, I don't know why you did it like this. Let me show you this and this and that, you know. It's gotten so bad you have to watch for AI with students using AI to cheat themselves, because that's what you're doing. You know, eventually it's going to be exposed. When I get AI written documents from lawyers, I recognize when it's AI. I mean, and I know when a person wrote it, you know. So, but anyway, like we were saying, with the Supreme Court, that is a strong possibility. He would need confirmation from the Senate. So obviously Biden, as long as he got like 50 senators, is going to say, oh, no, I would never do that. But as soon as he could get 70 senators, 72, which I doubt it would ever happen in this country again. Yeah, but if he ever got that, that's when you hear a person say, I don't care what the Republicans say, they can't stop me. You know, I just remember the swagger that President Obama had when he had 59-60. Yeah, that seems like a long time ago. Yeah, but that's true. That, you know, that was a lot of power. And even back then, you had enough Republicans, you probably still peel off 2-3 Republicans to say, hey, if you give me some of what I want, I'm okay with this.
But he only had it. He had it really less than 2 years because Senator Kennedy died before that second year. So really, by the midterm,
he had about 18 months, maybe more like 14 months of it.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? To be honest, but he did have it. You know,
considering that it was the global, the world's economy almost melted down, and he had to clean up W's mess. You know,
and look at it full circle. May he rest in peace, John McCain, Obama's fierce campaign competitor, was the vote that held the Obamacare in order.
Sure was.
That tells you a lot, that you can the political fights can be fierce, but they don't have to be disagreeable. They don't have to be hateful. You know, and right now I watched the Pretzel Show when I flip over to Fox because I watch Republicans bend themselves in pretzels to
wait.
try to tip. It's the pretzel
I didn't know where you were
challenge.
going with that one.
It's the pretzel.
I'm gonna have to
It's the
steal that one.
pretzel.
That's a good one. The
It's the
pretzel
pretzel.
show.
It's the pretzel challenge when you turn on Fox News. See who can bend more to, you know.
How can I twist this and
Right. I don't want to leave the show without pointing out the last point is that
do that. I know we only got a couple of minutes, so I want you to go ahead. What you want to close with?
That the importance of right now making sure you're registered to vote. I understand in South Carolina today is primary day, so hopefully everybody went out and are still. I see you voted. Are voting in the primary, and right now the focus needs to be on what is the strategy and the plan to execute my vote in November. If you have early voting and you work, a lot of hours, then let's try to get the early voting go. Check your registration.
Thank you. Yes.
Check to see if your kids are away at college and you're a Georgia resident and they're away at college in another state, make sure they stay registered in Georgia. Why? Because if they're in a place like California, that vote isn't as value as it is in Georgia.
Yes,
and even though they could vote in either place, they can only vote in one place.
Yes.
So this is all strategic consideration that you need to be aware of and confirm your registration situation. In other words, we know they purge rolls, polling places move, all those type of things, especially folks in red states. Not so much in blue states, that's not really an issue, but it can be. Because all these things are quote unquote nonpartisan, but you do have Republican judges and Democratic judges and independent judges at the polling places. And so I think right now it's all about making sure each individual has their stuff together for the election and then start working outward in your household with your kids, your significant other, and then work outward with your friends, your extended family, then work out with your church people and your civic organizations. And then you'll look up and it's October. And if you tell 10 people and they tell 10 people, and we're all doing that, then the issues of no matter who you vote for, because I haven't gotten to the point about telling you who to vote for. I'll save that for later. Right now, I want to make sure you're
don't worry, I've done enough of that for everybody.
Yeah. So I think the important part is as I explain all this complicated legal jargon and everything, at the end of the day, you have the power and control over all these people. Yeah, you don't get to pick the Supreme Court, but you get to pick the person who picks the Supreme Court. You also get to pick two of the guys, one at a time in most states, that get to vote for who gets to sit on that court, and the federal judges. Or the woman or the man or they,
the Senate,
or they, him, she, her,
whatever
LGBTQIA, whatever. They, you get to choose the individuals and that get to decide a whole lot of your life. And then locally, you get to choose who's in charge of your children's life, who's sitting on that school board, who's going to pick the new principal or the new superintendent and all of those different things. And here's the last thing I will say, and it's kind of funny. I don't know how many of you are following the YSL case, but I got to give a shout out
real quick. What is that?
YSL is a Young Slime Life rap group that is accused of murders. They've been brought on a RICO charge in Georgia, and so I followed it a little bit. And the case is messy. I'm gonna say this now, it's probably gonna be a mistrial. It's in the same court district that prosecutor Fonnie Willis is in.
Right. Fulton County.
I don't know that much details about it. I'm one of those people that if I don't know that much about the evidence, but it looks like I'm almost certain that it doesn't all stem from rap lyrics, because I don't believe in people being prosecuted for musical lyrics. I don't care. Again, it's speech, unless it can be directly connected. I know people say that never happens. Well, yes, it does. In fact, a member of Master P's, one of the No Limit soldiers back in the 90s got locked up for it. He just got out recently for something that he was quoting his father for, and they charged him with some murders that they put on him from quotes that he had nothing to do with. And the governor of Louisiana released him early on it. You know, a Republican governor did this. And so that lets you know. So I'm kind of always leery when rappers are brought on trial about something they said in a rap. It's kind of, I actually teach this in my media and society class at Chicago State. We actually do a week about speech and about these different type of crimes. Like, I don't believe in book bans, whether I like the book or not. I mean, yeah, I don't believe in that. But I think the reason why I bring this up, if you want a defense counsel, I got to totally respect the defense counsel has been in jail since last week. Now you ask, why is the defense counsel for YSL? Well, let me just be honest. The trial is a shit show. Everything from the judge, who was a brother, punishing one of the late arriving attorneys to buy everybody lunch. And so in Atlanta, where did he have him buy everybody's chicken wings from? Let me see if you can guess, Geno. In Atlanta, what is one of the most popular attraction when people sit down in Atlanta? One of the first place, the brothers want to take all the brothers. You married and you're a good guy. The strip club. So the judge,
City. I wouldn't even think.
Yeah, judge orders
when
wings.
You said food, I didn't connect it to you right.
Yeah,
chicken wings, that should have been the tail. But I'm thinking about like, you know, Gladys had and BB Winan had the chicken and waffle, which they don't have anymore.
No, I'm talking old school, man. You know, if people, I had never seen this. I had never seen this until I went to Atlanta. And yeah, I've been to I'm not a strip club guy, but I've been there before. They have carry out, and it's people at the strip club eating chicken wings while there's dancers at the strip club. And I just think that is the most nastiest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. It smells like Budusa and you eating chicken wings. I can't do it. But anyway, this judge says that it is an Atlanta delight to have these chicken wings, and he promptly ordered the chicken wings from the strip club. All right. Wow. That's one thing that's happened. But in a separate thing, it turns out that one of the, and this is the other thing, please don't plead the fifth if you don't know the rules about pleading the fifth. So I'm gonna just give you a quick law lesson. You can't plead the fifth if you've already confessed and take immunity. That means that your testimony has to be applied for immunity. So young Woody, whoever that is, had struck a deal with the prosecution. When it came his time to testify, they asked him his age, and he's like, I'm an adult. And then they asked him something else. He says, well, I plead the fifth. They explained to him, dude, you signed an immunity deal. You can't plead the fifth. He's still trying to do his Dave Chappelle imitation, plead the fifth. So the judge had him locked up. Now, while he's locked up, the judge calls an in parte, which means a private meeting with the prosecution and a couple of attorneys, but they exclude the defense attorney. That's a no-no. You can't do that. So when the trial restarts, the defense attorney, Attorney Brian Steele, shout out to the white boy. I mean, if I ever get in some trouble, I want you to represent me. He confronts the judge about it. And the judge basically holds him in contempt because he's asking him, where did you find out this information? Well, he's saying, I can't tell you this information for two reasons. One, I can't tell you because lawyers we're held to a professional standard. In other words, there's confidentialities, you know. And so the judge puts him in jail, holds him in contempt. He's still in jail today. This happened on Friday. Damn. Okay. So it's going to be a mistrial. Yeah, well, the judge is the only person that can let you out on contempt because he's not going to give you a bond because the judge is telling him, tell me who told you this. Violation one. That's an issue. That's judge. That's bad behavior on the judge. The other part of it is that he's questioning the judge. This is mistrial stuff. So when the sheriffs walk over and tell him, hey, you got to go to jail, he gets up, takes off his tie while court is going on, takes off his jacket, and asked the judge again. The judge asked him, so you're not going to tell me? He says, no, I cannot tell you who else he's arrested. So this trial is going to be a mistrial. Just when you hear about it, just remember the legal guy on Geno's show said it was going to be a mistrial. Not without really knowing all the evidence, because I don't know that much really about the case, but I kind of, side-eyed it because from what I understand, some of the initial evidence comes from rap lyrics. And so
this sounds like a Medea movie. It's there in Atlanta. I can see Tyler Perry writing this script.
There you have it. But y'all go out and vote. And again, thanks, Geno, for having me on today to share those tidbits. Support the Fearless Fund, y'all, and go to their website, because their website kind of breaks down a lot of things, some of the statistics that Geno was talking about, and all of those different things. And just keep in mind, they're coming for the Fearless Fund now, but next time they'll be coming for the fraternity and sorority scholarships. Ooh, and the church. And United Negro Fund scholarships and all that, because in Urban League, this is an attack on DEI and diversity on so many levels. And so while some of you are hawking and yelling about the LGBTQIA community, you need to be in solidarity with these different diverse groups. Just like people can't leave out the disabled community because they suffer some of the same atrocities. These are all various stratas of the community that throughout all of them, there are Black people in it. There are Black LGBTQIA, if you didn't know that, and Black trans people, you know that. Absolutely. Black disabled people, right? We know there's Black women. So all these minority affected groups, there's Black people in them. Yeah, that's the louder your voice, the bigger the power. And you can use that power to push to the polls. And when you get to the polls, it don't stop at the polls. On April 6th, you should be yelling at the new people that you elected, saying, look, I voted for you, and you need to do what you say you're going to do, because that's where we always drop off. We get these people in and we don't follow up and we blame them. No, it don't stop. It does not stop when you go vote. It continues on. I write letters sometimes. I haven't been doing this so much since law school, but prior to law school, I used to write to Lindsey Graham down there, Graham all the time. Tim Scott, and I think he had a rubber stamp. Sean Mitchell, I read your letter. I think he just had a rubber stamp with my name. so that's what you need to be active with.
So listen, let me say thank you. I love you, family. Now, I wanted to ask you a question, but I know, look, I've run long, even though it's my show. But so here's my challenge. Okay. Because what I was going to ask you about is
ask away. You can ask. I'll answer.
Well, no. Well, you can give me like the little 60-second
I'll give you
answer.
I'll give you a quick answer.
I want us to have a plan, because you and I didn't get a chance to talk about this in our pre-show meeting, but talking about the Fearless Fund. So I'm thinking, why can't some of us reach out to some brilliant legal minds like yourself and some other brothers and sisters and white allies and Hispanic and all the different groups, and reverse engineer? Well, why can't we file a suit against these universities with the legacy clauses? You've got schools, universities, organizations that have scholarships for Jewish students, or for students from other different countries. Or
let me say this. I don't agree with that strategy. Let me say it from this standpoint. Okay. I think this kind of gets into some of my problems with Black people when we talk civil rights, but we want to exclude the LGBTQIA community, or we exclude people with disabilities. Just hear me out though. I don't have a problem with Jewish people having Jewish scholarships for Jewish kids. There probably is a necessity for that. I think there should be Hispanic scholarships for Hispanic kids. That does not mean that they're anti-Black. It just means that they're trying to use their resources to help their community get a piece of the American dream. And however you do it is how you do it. I wouldn't care if the KKK created a racist, scholarship for racist kids. At least I know what that is. I know who those group of people is. I know who will accept a scholarship. Let me say this finally. When I look at people, because I'm gonna use this as an analogy, I know what Trump is. He's a piece of shit. what I look at is the people who support Trump. That tells me more about them
Than Trump.
because I already know what he is.
Right.
And so I that's why I find it troubling. This rich billionaire white man goes out of his way to stick it. I'm not going to give him a name. And the reason why I'm not going to give him a name, because my first strategy was, okay, he's going after this. Let's go after what he has. But he's so slick that he doesn't show his support to what can be attacked for him. And so why give him, when we name it, we give it power. He's a racist white man that is like, when you look for an avatar, he's just another avatar. I'm not going to give him that power. That's why if you ever hear me, when you hear me talk about him, I either say his last name or I say the white man. And the reason why is he's not the only one. Here's the other thing. White folks and Asian folks that don't agree with this, they're silent. Now, I don't support complicity. I don't agree with no racism against what they did to Japanese. The government paid for it and everything. Camps, what they've been doing to some Asian people around the country is wrong. I don't support it. Those people should be prosecuted. All I'm saying to my Asian friends and people who agree with me, you need to speak up about this. This group is getting, right now, Black women get 1% of the capital funds. I know several Black women that have very successful businesses, are starting businesses, do a great job, have good businesses. They're never going to touch this fund. But what I'm saying is somebody else that is out there needs this fund. I can't understand why these 3 white women and Asian women that they've labeled them as are going after this group. Why aren't you going after some of the bigger scholarships that are promoting white men and giving, this is the amazing thing about white men. They fail up. They fail up. Trump has 34 felonies and still could become president. Yes. White people fail up. I'm going to talk about this. If you're a football fan, watch when a white offensive coordinator gets fired in the NFL, and won't he have another offensive coordinator job
because his buddy
the very next year? Because they fail up or they fail laterally.
All right, so listen.
Black people get fired. You don't hear from them no more.
Right. All right, so listen. Because in theory, listen, I agree. I don't have a problem. I've never had a problem. You had Jewish organizations, Hispanic organizations, or let's say universities, if they have a large number of students from whatever country, scholarships. But my thing is, okay, if you're going to do this, then if you can't just go after Black women and not go after
they're
everybody.
Coming next. Those other groups are coming next. So those other groups are coming next. That was my point. Okay. That right now they're after the Black women. The next group is the Jews. See, Jewish people have usually always been allies because they still know what it's like. Yeah. That's still imprinted in them. And most of the time, that's why my Jewish friends, I can talk about Israel and they know I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm talking about the
Netanyahu government. Then you just
but see, me attacking the Netanyahu government isn't because they're Jewish. It's because they're right wing. The racist. Same problem I have with them is the same problem I have with the right wingers here in this country. The same problem I have with Putin. Their policy, it's the same thing. It's global. It's global white supremacy. That's all it is. And a lot of it is ingrained in these European Western countries. It's ingrained in it, And so, look, in Asia and in Asian countries, it's a class system. Why? Because the race is not a problem. Everybody's the same race. Oh, but you come from this class, especially when you get into Eastern Asia, when you start talking about Indonesia, when you start talking about India, their class system goes by color. That's where the race starts to connect.
In Asia and China, class and religion.
Yes, because some people are Buddhists, some people are Taoists. There's slight differentials.
Muslim,
there's cult, there's groups, there's all kinds of geopolitical things. We can have a geopolitical discussion because that's a different discussion from a race. Race is manufactured.
Yes.
It was manufactured to promote the trans-global trade
Transatlantic slave trade. Yes, absolutely
slave
right.
trade. And the reason why it was designed is you had to dehumanize Black people to make most people say is acceptable. This is what lets you know Black people have been world travelers for a long time.
Forever. Unless something big breaks, Sean, next week I'm executive producing the show on camera before you go, because this whole story with the Freedom Fund it really bothers me. I want you to let me know if you were to get a call from the sister that runs the Fearless Fund, and she was say, or just collectively as a culture. Because if they come at the Fearless Fund, like you said, in the Black sororities and fraternities, NAACP, Urban League, all that is in the crosshairs of folks like these billionaire white nationalists, Blum, Musk, Mr. Battery, and all that, Mr. Electric Car. So what should be the strategy for the Fearless Fund and just for the culture legally in general? What legally, what would you recommend? And then what could we as a culture do outside to contribute financially to support them? What is the game plan? You play sports, come up with a game plan to kind of fight, these racist billionaires that's going after these Black women and these funds like this.
I think the best approach is to shine a light on the fact that it's happening. Okay. I think the other dynamic when you have a platform like yours is definitely try to reach out. I try to avoid speaking on no more than what I know from the news, because I don't know anyone personally with the Fearless Fund.
But that's why I said let's next.
I think that would be a good strategy.
I know you got a lot going on, but if we can, take that dive, even if it's not next week, the week after, because I really, that's important that we really elevate what they're doing, because one of the most important points, and I'm gonna beat it like a drum, I'm gonna beat it like Sheila E. beating the drum when she was in Prince's band. The Fearless Fund, if they could really take them down, all the Black sorority and fraternities are right there in the crosshairs, and all these other organizations. And like Sean said, when they finish coming for us, the Jewish brothers and sisters, Latino brothers and sisters, Asian American brothers and sisters, Native Americans, all these groups have, university schools have special scholarships or programs to help, to put them on an even par, since we all were, none of us was in the Constitution, but white men who own land. So that's a whole different show. So, and I know I'm a quote.
strategy. And we can definitely try to put that together and talk about that, because there's several other groups that can come to the forefront. I think we can also do multiple things at one time. Again, it's sometimes to engage people in voting, because I think one of the things that people that tend to be on the left that we don't ever consider is how to engage with entrepreneurship within the progressive movement. It's almost like it's almost approached to the progressive movement as being anti-capitalism. And while I think most progressives don't like the way capitalism is structured now, I think we all believe in a person's opportunity to make money and do better for themselves and do better for their community. Because I think the only way, I don't think government is going to be the only answer to the issues. I think it is part of the answer.
It could be part of the solution or part of the problem.
But I don't think it's the only answer. No. I grew up around Black folks in the western suburbs, Broadview, Maywood, Illinois, that there were a lot of Black entrepreneurs own Black businesses, and it still is. We own property. We do a lot of things right now. I have friends that have worked 20 years at United and they've started businesses. So there's nothing wrong with. We need to keep that, and that should be the calling card to rally people around the Fearless Fund and Black women trying to do their thing. Because I think at the end of the day,
that point real quick. Here, this is the best example. Look at what we were able to build in the heart of Jim Crow, the Jim Crow era. Tulsa, you had the Bronzeville district in Chicago, Rosewood, Wilmington, North Carolina, thriving black
Harlem.
communities.
Harlem. And now,
Harlem,
you know,
yes.
a friend of mine, Charles Blow, with this reverse migration of people coming from the north back to the south. I think that's all a good thing, because Oprah said it best. One thing they ain't making no more, that's the most valuable thing, is land.
That's true.
They ain't making land no more. So, I mean, I'd rather have some land than a Land Rover.
Yeah, there you go. I ain't mad at you. Great show, family. I appreciate
Yes.
you. I love you. So there you go. So to counteract Project 2025, we're going to come back. Sean is going to come back. But I'm going to call it Project 2024. He's going to have the game plan on how we can fight racism on that corporate and legal level. Thanks again. Thanks, Sean. All right, let me thank him.
I'm out of here, Geno.
All right, family. All right. Hey, listen, thank you, everybody, for sticking around, hanging around. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Shout out to my baby sister. Hey, baby girl, I love you. Mother, thank you for watching. Everybody, thank you for watching. God bless each and every one of you, especially you, God, most of all. Thank you for letting me do the Geno Jones Show. I do it live, Monday through Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, in Chicago, 5:30. Allen, LA on the West Coast, 3:30 p.m. I have a goal, 1,000 new subscribers in the next 60 days. So spread the word. Spread it like a good virus. Spread it like Christmas cheer. Spread it like, if you like pancakes, spread it like you're spreading some of your favorite Miss Butterworth syrup on those pancakes. Spread the word. Share it. Tag it. Text it. Email. Copy the link to today's show. Subscribe, share, screen grab, like, or rip some of the video, and binge watch, along with liking, binge watch all my back episodes. Thank you to CM Transportation, sponsor for the Geno Jones Show. If your business needs a transportation company, dependable, reliable, and on time, CM Transportation, LLC.net, CM Transportation, LLC.net, or you can call them. They're based here, headquartered here in the Charleston, South Carolina Metro 843 area code. 606-2702, 843 area code 606-2702. Shout out to Markel Bailey, the official barber and hairstylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check him out on IG, on Instagram, Kel B Cutting Up. Allie Jones, Bruce Gage, the official wardrobe consultants and stylist for the Geno Jones Show. Check out Allie Jones on IG, on Instagram, and her Lexi Jones collection. LX.NCL_ Bruce Gage, Mario Uomo, and Flyball the store. M.I. is Miglio D. Mario Uomo, MIGLIO DIMARIO UOMO, and Flyball the store. That's simple. FLYBALLSTORE, or FLY. Flyball, FLYBALLTHESTORE, flyballthestore.com. The next live edition of the Geno Jones Show is going to be Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for watching. I love you. We'll see you now. If you missed some of this show, go back and binge watch this and every episode, and tell everybody you know to subscribe to the Geno Jones Show channel right here. Just go to YouTube, type in Geno Jones Show.
Dear Dad, it's been 15 years since you left us. A lot has changed, but I think I'd be making you proud. A degree from SC State and USC Law. You would love my wife, Jill, and I represent our community in the State House. But now I'm doing something bigger, running for Senate to continue fighting for our community, creating opportunities and protecting the rights of those who need a voice. Because Dad, that's the world you taught me to believe in.
Subscribe and tune in to the next episode of The Geno Jones Show, exclusively right here on YouTube.